just live God in Jesus. And in this place, the Holy Spirit will get up and move in a way that doesn't make sense physically. But His Spirit is there. We're nothing without Him. We're going to sing one voice, one people, one church, and one night. Are you ready?
Right, good evening. Good evening. Can we just have a bit of calm and quiet, please? First of all, just a massive, massive thank you for everybody that's come out tonight. It's just amazing to see our restaurant buzzing again. It's been a torrid year for us with COVID-19, especially a big 140-seater restaurant like this. To those of you that have supported us at Coffee Box, it's been absolutely amazing. And in fact, through your support there, it's kept the mothership Coffeeberry going. So thank you really very much for the support. Then I just want to say welcome to our live viewers, because this is a momentous occasion, such as being the demand for the story this evening from a very special lady that we've decided to stream it live. Thanks to Sean and Richard from Sound Mechanics. We are streaming right around worldwide right now. It's quite amazing to think, and welcome to all our viewers. So thank you for joining us. And then, without any further to do, every now and again, a person gets put on this planet to make a big difference in people's lives. And our speaker tonight was actually down to talk last year, and then we got this thing called COVID-19 coming in, and we kind of postponed, and she was fully booked right away, and then COVID-19 struck, and we obviously had to call the talk off. And then I wouldn't say without hesitation, she agreed to come and speak again. There's obviously a lot to think through, but every now and again somebody is put on this planet that faces adversity, but that can rise up and make a difference in people's lives. And I think if this talk is going to make a massive difference in each of our lives this evening, and we're going to leave here the better for it. So without any further to do, I'd like to welcome our speaker tonight, Fran Steart.
No pressure. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and to family and friends who are across the world. Hello. I'm so pleased that half of you are people that I know, because it's lovely to look out into the sea of faces and know friendly and a loving one. So thank you so much, everybody, and my folks who've come all the way from Winterton. All right, so being vulnerable is the only way to let your heart feel true pleasure. This time last year, am I up? Sorry. This time last year, almost to the day, if you can see the date, I was meant to speak on food, faith, and fertility. Last year's talk was going to be on hope. It was going to be on faith. It was going to inspire. It was going to encourage. And as we know, a few weeks prior to when I spoke, COVID hit. So things have changed quite a bit. At the end of the evening, I was also going to share some very exciting news with everybody. On that note, I'd like to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I am Fran Steart. You are going to know me quite intimately after tonight. You are going to know my thoughts, some of my fears, some of my triumphs, some of my darkest moments. But also I hope to shed some light on how God and community have helped me every step of the way. And God knew this time last year that I was not going to speak in 2020. He knew that I would be here with you tonight in 2021. So a little bit about me. Ek's mos 'n plaasmeisie, actually. Grew up in Winterton. I am the eldest of 4 siblings. I have 3 younger brothers, and I love them dearly. My parents and my brothers are still farming in the Winterton area. And from a young age, I feel like I knew the Lord quite intimately and almost sought a deeper relationship with Him. I went off to boarding school and into the real world and was quite shocked with how families are different out there. And this is where the food section of my talk came into being. How did I become the dietitian I am today? In standard 6, I think with all the change, gaining a little bit of hostile weight, by the middle of standard 6, I was diagnosed with anorexia and bulimia. I could spend this whole evening sharing with you the emotional and mental journey to recovery that was. But again, I had my wonderful family, and at that point, in standard 6, I gave my life fully to the Lord. I remember diarizing something that I'm going to read to you in 1998. This is after I had started to develop a relationship with the Lord. And just to let you a little bit into my head at the time, I was 16. I waste so much of my time thinking of myself, of my looks, of food, and I forget the important things. I'm so afraid of losing something that I've taken for granted at the moment. But I only realized that later. I love and I care for my family and friends so much, and yet I can be so self-centered. Lord, help me to let go of my worries and my fears, and help me to hand them over to you and leave them in your hands. Lord, let me forget about food, about weight, and concentrate on you. And just getting to know the Lord on a really personal relationship. I remember one Sunday waking up, and in my head it was going over and over, Psalm 139, Psalm 139. And at the time I didn't know what Psalm 139 was. So I'm going to read you a few verses that I love so dearly. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. It goes on to say, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? Verse 11, if I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And I realized at the time God was seriously speaking to me. Anybody that you know who's been through an eating disorder really hates themselves. And having a God that wasn't just a God that I feared anymore, it was a God that loved me unconditionally, was a huge realization. And so, in short, I don't want to spend too much time on like the dietetic side of things tonight, but from where I came from, I realized I could not have overcome an eating disorder without a God. As much as I'm a dietitian now, and I was encouraged to become a dietitian because of the dietitian that helped me at the time, I again just realized that there's only so much that people here on earth can do for us, and the rest we have to hand over to a higher being. So after school, it took me overseas for 2 years, and after being declined a visa, I came back to motherhood. And it was the last place I ever thought I'd come back to, but I wanted to be closer to family, and they are just an hour away. And I remember realizing overseas that I was getting to know the kids that I was looking after really well, but I hardly knew my brothers. And my youngest brother is 9 years younger than me, so I really wanted to know him a lot more personally. In 2003, I would meet my husband-to-be and a very good friend who is now, what we joke, my other husband, who is now my business partner as well, Claire Barnard. And I look back on a diary section where I also prayed for my husband in 99, so I was standard 9. Lord, I begin to pray for my husband. I pray that I shall never think my standards are too high, especially with you. He's in your hands. I might list a few specifics, which I won't share tonight. He must have time, patience, and respect for his family. I pray our marriage will be full of trust, of love, and communication. He must be romantic and adventurous. Lord, if I'm to find a man like this one day, I'd be the happiest ever. And let me tell you, God knew. He knew the man that I needed. And we've just celebrated last week our 13 years of marriage. And I am so thankful for the man that's walked beside me. Being the eldest of 4 siblings, the eldest of 11 cousins, and loving babies from a young age, enter Fran the planner and the dreamer. I wanted 4 kids. I wanted to do dietetics maybe one day where I could have flexibility, work from home, look after the children. Much to G's horror, 4 kids was not on his to-do list. But thankfully, in April 2008, we were married, and we had a wonderful day. Obviously, the next journey is starting to think about having a family. And for the first few years, we had a lot of fun traveling, getting to know each other better, living the later 20s years together. And the planner was starting to think, how am I going to fit 4 kids in between the age of 30 and 39? Because that was my cutoff. I was happy to have twins. I'm pleased that God did not bless me with twins, though. So yeah, our journey went the next step towards wanting a child. It took a while. It took 2 years for us to fall pregnant. And eventually, after seeing a gynae and having a laparoscopy, 2 months later, we were pregnant. And in 2013, we had our beautiful Kensley Grace, who turns 8 next month. What a blessing and a joy she has been. She and I often look at each other and we say, everything we could wish for in a child, she is that. At the same time, my good friend Claire also gave birth to her 3rd child, Benjamin. And she was wanting to move out of government and into private. And so in 2013, we started out as partners. When I had met her in 2003, 10 years prior, we would never know how intertwined our lives and our hearts would be in the years to come. But God knew. You see, before I became a mom, I knew the extent to which one could have such love for your child. Claire did. This was her third child, and she had given birth to her second child in 2012. On a Saturday morning, I found myself on the 5th of May walking into ICU at Mediclinic to check on a patient. I saw Claire's parents entering the maternity ward, and I was so excited. You see, she had had a very complicated pregnancy and had been bedbound for most of it. And so I was so excited to know that her baby had arrived. It was due on the Monday, and this was the Saturday. After my rounds, I bumped into a doctor friend who looked very anxious and sad. And he told me he had just had to assist with the hardest delivery, that being of a stillborn baby. I went quiet, and I asked him if it was my friend, to which he nodded his head. My heart broke that day for a friend who had waited so long to deliver a baby, and now he was gone. I remember getting into my car confused, absolutely shattered, to call another one of our friends and share the heavy news. Our friend that day became a mum to an angel boy called Lucas, and every year since I've seen how she's carried a light and a love for him, especially on his memory month. And as I became a mom myself, I suddenly realized with each year the weight of that loss that she must have endured, and yet she showed up every day. I recall a few years later, after having had a daughter myself and having watched The Shack with our home group, and crying. It was the first time that I really said to her, "Friend, how did you carry on? How did your heart survive?" I did not know how you could love a child so much and then have to let them go. On that day, my friend answered me, "You have to make a choice. You either have to do it with God or you do it without God." And she chose to do it with God. And you see, at the same time, as much as her journey had been the loss of her precious baby boy, we too were enduring a journey which we had to choose God. And that was infertility. After having Ken's, I was now 31, and I was adamant not to let things pass too long again. And so within a year of nothing happening, we did another laparoscopy, which nothing happened afterwards. And a year later, we went to a fertility clinic in Umhlanga, at which stage I was told by the doctor that I have low egg reserves, and we embarked on the journey of artificial insemination. After it failing and my heart breaking yet again, we took a break, because you renovate and you do AI at the same time, and you live with your wonderful in-laws who are here tonight. So we decided to give it a break for a while. Month after month, my heart would wait in anticipation. When would it be me? When would it be us? Everybody was falling pregnant around us. The friends that had been pregnant with their first child were now going on to their second child, and their third, and their fourth. Eventually in 2017, after many tears, to my parents, to my husband, to our home group, to our friends, and whoever was actually willing to listen, I took a flight to Joburg, to another fertility clinic for another bit of advice and input. I decided to go alone, partly because I was actually so resentful that I was having to go there and ask another doctor as to what was happening. I really wanted it to be in God's timing, and I really wanted it to be naturally. And here I was flying to go and see a doctor to hear what he was going to say. The consult was another one of those heartbreaking moments. He told me I had early ovarian failure. and that I should have done IVF in my 20s. We had a chance of less than 10% of falling pregnant, and he basically called our Kensley our golden egg. What a beautiful thing to say. And he said, you need to pray for another golden egg, basically. This is a snip from my journal on that day. This was 2017. I cannot see what I'm doing through the tears, and I try to hide my overwhelmingness in a room where others are waiting to hear their fate or have the blessing of being pregnant. Through the tears, I lock eyes with another lady who mouths, "Are you okay?" I shake my head and head off onto a patio to cry alone. After briefly chatting to G, the lady comes outside and gives me a hug, and she says, "I don't know what is wrong, but if you do believe and you are a Christian, I want you to know God knows, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Well, Lord, you are here, and you do see my tears, and you do know my aching heart. She explains how she too had very few eggs, and she just had one embryo, and she was now pregnant. Thank you, Lord, that she has a similar problem to me, and that she is giving me hope. She quotes Psalm 37, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires and petitions of your heart. Thank you, Lord, for your angels." She leaves. Just one golden egg is what we need. I am praying for that, Lord. I stood typing this in the reception area as I want to document, this is me still writing, I want to document what the Lord can and will do. If it is your plan, O Lord, for another child, or if not, then please prepare my heart and continue to speak to me. Thank you, Lord. I see another message from a lady I'd met on the plane earlier, and she sent me Psalm 139, the verse that took me back to in high school, where it was such an engraved passage on my heart. That day I was happy that G didn't come with me, because I cried non-stop. Later that year, my amazing parents helped us to embark on the journey of IVF for that one golden embryo. And after stimulation and egg retrieval and waiting for embryos to be fertilized, what did we end up with? One good embryo. At the end of 2017, that was us getting ready for the retrieval. At the end of 2017, we did the transfer, and on Old Year's Day, in the middle of the Vol, with good friends of ours, we discovered that our IVF had failed. I was angry. I was broken. How could my hopes be so high? And if this didn't work, our chances really were nil. For a while, I didn't want to speak to the God that I knew was bigger. I was a bit of in my head at that time, just because it had seemed so right. But a deep, still voice kept telling me, trust me in my time. The journey going into 2018, and especially 2019, became a journey for me of letting go. For me, it was a realization that what I kept doing was anticipating and waiting for the next child before I really lived, or before I fully loved. And I really laid down during those 2 years this thing of, actually, if I look in front of me, I've been given this amazing child. I have a wonderful husband, and we are blessed with family and friends. And as soon as I took on the attitude of gratitude and was thankful for the things that I actually had, I didn't feel that I needed anything else. It wasn't easy. It was definitely something I had to keep laying down and letting go of. But I really got to the point where I wanted to, there was a picture. I really wanted to be grateful. I was finding contentment and really living the life that God had blessed us with. And again, leaving it in God's hands, really trying to put it back there. Over this time, we had amazing friends who still reminded us about the dreams that they had of holding a baby boy. They reminded me of prophecies that we would still have another child. And my heart would grapple with it. At the same time, as soon as I was laying down this desire for more children or a child, our precious Kens picked up the baton to continue praying. And my heart melted. Originally, it was so hard hearing her say, Lord, please can I have a sibling? Please can you bring me a brother or a sister? We had to see it as an opportunity to really teach her how to pray. Lord, if it be your will, please give us a brother or a sister. But these were precious words to hear every night. In laying down this desire, I also did an amazing solo trip all the way from Cape Town to KZN. And I remember saying to, I think my husband and Claire as well, I'm so content with life at the moment that if the Lord takes me home, I am so happy with life. In 2019, we also had the amazing opportunity to travel to the States and visit my young brother. He was working in Florida, and I went with my good friend Nix. We had 3 weeks, 3 whole weeks, moms. It's amazing. To go and just enjoy. And then, what did we do? We came back, and a few of us decided we are signing up for Comrades 2020. And I remember Claire Hall said to me, Franny, I will be praying that you are pregnant so that you cannot run Comrades. I was moving on. I was saying I'm done with leaving things that I've enjoyed or wanted to enjoy. And if it's going to happen, it's going to be an added blessing to have another child. It's not going to take away from the life that I want to live. And God knew. Come 2020, this was going to be the epic year, right? Just before Valentine's Day, I started feeling a little bit off. It was before COVID actually reached Hilton. And a friend who had also been battling encouraged me to do a pregnancy test. And I remember laughing and saying, well, it's just another waste of money. And lo and behold, we were pregnant. And this was actually the message we sent out to our family and our friends. I remember jumping in the car, still in absolute shock. And I knew G was just down the road. And I sat in the parking lot waiting for him to come out. And he said, well, actually he spoke about himself for the first 5 minutes before. Before he said to me, well, why are you here? I said, no, I don't think I'm going to be running Comrades this year. And he said, well, what's wrong? Have you injured yourself? And I said to him, we're pregnant. And I think we just stood there and looked at each other, absolutely dumbfounded and shocked. And then eventually we said, okay, this is happening. This is really happening. And that night, our darling daughter reminded us to thank Jesus for the sibling that was coming. And so, what was meant to be last year, this is where I was going to end off. The night I actually asked Con to postpone my talk so that I could have had my 12-week scan. And it was going to end off sharing that we were pregnant that night. It was going to be the cherry on the top, the creme de la creme. Our journey was never something that we were ashamed of. It was something that we were very open about. We shared it. We were vulnerable with family and friends, which I think made our journey of infertility that little bit easier. And the talk last year was going to say to people, keep going, keep trusting, know that there is hope. He is our ultimate doctor and our ultimate healer. But also to allow God that if you had a dream and maybe it wasn't going in that direction, know that God was dreaming a new dream for you and being open to it. And then, as we know, COVID officially hit Hilton on the 5th of March. And that, my friends, was the start of our True Story Tuesday tonight. And God knew all of this was to come. So I'm going to ask Con to just come up and say a few words, and then we'll continue with the second half.
Thank you, Fran, so much. I'm just going to introduce our next speakers now. And I say speakers, we're going to have more than one, which is going to be in a month's time. I think it's when the poster comes up. But the good thing is that we only actually go live with who's speaking tomorrow and on the social media. So all of you that are here tonight have got first chance to book. So just see one of my ladies sometime during the interval or after this evening and get your name in if you want an assured place. I promise you after, I have this fight every time. People try every angle to get in, but please just try and book as soon as possible so you don't lose out. We've got an amazing two speakers, and I'm really proud to say that we've got none other than Lyle Wheeler, who has done 50 consecutive doozies. I mean, I think the only consecutive thing I've done every year is my birthday. I mean, it's amazing. Can you even think to do 50 consecutive? And then Hugh Raw, who at 80 years old has finished the doozy this year. What an inspiration. So you can head along to the Doozy Facebook page and see some incredible videos there that my young son, I'll proudly say, was tasked to film these two guys. And Head and Shoulders, his 3 videos altogether he did on them, he followed them over 3 days, is the most viewed doozy videos by a long way. And so they'll be coming along to talk, and please get your bookings in for that tonight if you don't want to miss out. So thank you. Recharge your glasses, and we'll look forward to hearing from Fran soon. Thank you.
fit. Oh, Esther's nice and slim, eh?
Welcome back. If you wouldn't mind taking your seats. Cool. Right, let's kick it off. So, we're now officially back to True Story Tuesday 2021. You were unsure of which pain was worse, the shock of what happened or the ache of what never will. How does one describe 2020? I've likened it to war. A war that shook the world to its core. This invisible enemy has forced everyone to run to the shelter of their homes. The fear of the unknown and death has brought a world to a standstill before we knew what was happening. For us personally, war actually officially started on the 25th of April, 2020. Which is 5 days away from now. After a virtual 30 seconds with some mates around South Africa, we took to slumber that night. It was a Saturday night. Across the oceans in the USA, the first bomb went off for us. A young soldier who's dearly loved fell victim to the attack. My dearest youngest brother Hayden, a mere 28 years old at the time, I got a call late into the evening from my dad, one of those you do not want to answer. Francis, Hayden has been in a terrible car accident and he is in critical condition. Oh dear Lord. Please no. Our Haiti babes, our Stinks, our youngest and most beloved brother, and those of you who have had the opportunity to have met him, fell in love with him within the first few seconds. He had been involved in a severe accident where the truck on the opposite side of the freeway had lost control and come into his lane on the opposite side of the freeway. And he had T-boned this vehicle. He had sustained multiple fractures, shattered his elbow, his right hand, and the worst of all, sustained a traumatic brain injury. The doctors did not know and could not tell us how he would come out of it. He was obviously on a ventilator at the time and was on medication that was helping to keep him alive. All we could do was pray. Our injured soldier, in a world that had shut down and shut out. No one could be with him, so even over there, the friends and the people that he knew best could not see him. And we could not get to him. We as a family couldn't even meet together to grieve what was going on because of the restrictions. The devastation and the frustration of not being able to be there, not being able to physically speak to his doctors, not being able to hold his hand and speak hope over him. Waiting for hours to pass because there's a 7-hour delay. We would wake up in the morning and have to wait till at least 1 o'clock in our day until we heard how his night was. And then we would wait, and often we would get calls at 11, 12 o'clock at night with updates of how his day had been. The days and the weeks unfolded, and while we waited with bated breath of any sign that our Hades was still in that broken and battered body, would we ever hear his contagious laugh again? Would we see him pull another ridiculous tongue for a picture? Would he ever walk? Would he ever talk? What we know and love about our Hades is the one thing we were hoping we would get back. In probably the worst scenario of what you can think of is where we found ourselves. But by the grace of God, we were able to locate a minister who was in his hospital every day. And before he knew it, he had these South Africans literally messaging him, WhatsApp calling, voice noting, sending any songs that we thought Hayden would be able to hear. Our Pastor Phil became our lifeline in the war that separated the worlds. And never before have we prayed as much. We sang and we believed and we trusted that our way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness was going to do the undone. The support and love and prayers from community virtually, locally and globally was amazing. People that we had never known or will never know were on bent knees for our brother and son. And slowly but surely, the little big miracles started taking place. We prayed for a squeeze, and we got a squeeze. We prayed for a wink, and we got a wink. We prayed for a thumbs up, and finally, weeks later, we got a thumbs up. This was actually Nick and I on a walk when we got the video call, and there was Hades pulling a tongue and giving us a thumbs up, and we could not believe it. And so this was our communication to Hades from the beginning, and especially when he could finally see, but for a long time he could not communicate back to us. It took nearly 2 months until we heard his first word, and I'm going to show you a video.
You guys can talk.
It's okay. I'm just going to add, sorry, Judge. I'm just going to see if...
Oh, there we go. Dad, listen, Dad.
Listen.
Oh, man.
And so we enjoyed the little mercies that we got from across the oceans. Every little gain that Hayden made, we celebrated and we prayed. We kept being specific about the prayers as well. Over time, we realized we had to get Hayden back home on South African soil. I sent out a message on social media. It was shared over 200 times for a plea to bring our brother home. I was told about charters. I met with private pilots. We spoke about a mission impossible, literally, because everything, even in their world, had shut down. We went to social media, it was in the newspaper, and eventually one day, just as you think hope is all gone, we had a call from an old college boy who ended up being a South African air pilot. What are the chances? He was going to make it his mandate to bring Hayden on a plane and bring him home. For the next few weeks, I felt like I was in top secret deploy operation to bring this wounded soldier home, and we had to keep it under wraps. The absolute wonder of humanity and the hope that was restored in me during this time was something I still behold. Funds were raised unbelievably to support and bring Hayden home. We had a medevac team that jumped on a flight from here to Washington. We had to organize a flight from Florida to Washington. There was handover, there was bringing Hayden home, and eventually we had a message from his pilot telling us that the Eagle had landed. Hayden, straight from arriving in Joburg, was ambulanced down to a rehab facility, but on his way, on Friday the 17th of July, they brought him down in an ambulance and they stopped off just outside Winterton on the freeway, and then they stopped off again for us in Maritzburg, and we were able to jump in and say hello to our wounded soldier. This was my parents seeing him for the first time. And these were my brothers. And Hades was really confused, really tired. It was a really, really difficult transition. It was hard seeing a brother that is usually so full of life and so bubbly not even recognize his parents. After arriving that night in the rehab facility in Hillcrest, we knew that we were so blessed to have him here, even though he was frail, confused, but he was alive and he was with us, and it was the same time zone, which was amazing. But the battle for Hayden has been far from over. 7 months he spent in intensive rehab at probably one of the most highly recommended rehabs in our province, if not our country. Our soldier always wears a smile. He is always positive. It has been one of the fundamental things that has blown us away as to how positive he is. Hades has unfortunately in almost a year not been able to remember anything. His short-term memory is totally gone. We have to keep reminding him about the accident that took place, why his leg is the way it is, that he even worked for 4 years prior to the accident in the States. He does not recall by himself. But we believe that our God is going to do more with him. And so we trust and we hope that his body is going to heal. And then one day again, he is going to dance. He loved dancing. Squeaking some tacky is what he would say. We believe that he's going to be fully independent. We believe that he's going to travel again. We believe that he is going to climb Kilimanjaro one day. And we believe that he will still have a family. And as much as I've been a voice to Hades over the last year, I cannot wait to hear his testimony one day. His victories, his digging deep, his perseverance. It is something that honestly, you need to spend a little bit of time with Hades and you realize just how blessed we are and just how little we need to love our lives. I interviewed our Hades. This was last weekend. So this is from our champ, and he's going to share a few words. Right, what's your name?
I'm Hayden Dreamer.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
No.
I'm 32.
No.
I'm 39.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just testing you. I was
29.
just testing you guys. Good job. I'm so proud.
Hades, where are you at the moment?
I'm at Barra Farm.
Yeah.
That's our farm that we grew up on.
That's good. Yeah. And do you know what happened to you in the last year?
The last year I was in an accident.
Yeah.
And
And have you come a far way?
yes, a lot of positive vibes, good family, good friends that have been positively supporting you, giving you a good push in the right direction so I don't get lost in distress or anything like that. It's just positive vibes which just kept me going strong. Thank you.
Good. And Hades, is there any message or any message you want to shout out to your fans out there? Or any words of encouragement?
I just want to thank you for everybody who's been there for me and looking after me, and thank you for the amazing family and friends, and may we just continue to smile and have positive vibes and hopefully bring a smile to somebody's day, or yeah, maybe just keep a smile on face and stay positive. And I hope everybody's got that vibe. Thank you.
Good. Okay, Hayes. Give us a good cheesy bomb.
Show your tattoo. That's your motto.
Oh, what's your motto, Hayes?
Each day is a gift, not a given right.
That's right. You still live by that.
Yes.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Butch.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So for those of you who couldn't hear what his tattoo was, it's each day is a gift and not a given right. And it just makes you realize how he had the essence of what life is from the very beginning. So in Hayden's recovery, which he's doing now at home with my folks, and we have an amazing OT who's watching now with Hayden at our home. I just want to thank everybody who was involved in the support, the love, the prayers, the fundraising, the everything that they've done to help us get through this difficult time with our brother. 3 days after we got Hayden back to South Africa, another tired veteran took his last breath. And I just want to honor G's dad this evening. It was another bomb for the family in another way. Although he had battled for a long time with his own war, and he's at peace now, it was just something else that happened just as we took a breath. So books for your dad tonight. War is relentless, and most times it can leave you shell-shocked. And one needs to retreat to catch your breath before heading back into the carnage. I think as soon as Hayden had arrived back here, we felt this breath and a bit of a relief. And it was a reminder that I had this amazing miracle growing inside of me. During all this time, from the COVID happening to the what ifs, to Hayden's accident, it was almost like this little person was almost forgotten, but not quite. This was a time where I was able to take a little bit of time to reflect and remember that we were super blessed with this miracle growing within us. Our little boy's kicks at this time, and us realizing that it was a little boy, much to his sister's not so much delight on the day of the reveal. But also in that, recognizing that this boy had been prophesied about. Why did we even question that it was going to be a boy? We also realized soon that this little baby wasn't just our miracle. It was a miracle for many of our friends and family who kept trusting and believing when we couldn't. And God knew what was to come. Entering into my 3rd trimester, this was Ken's. She used to love putting her head on my stomach and feeling her little brother's kicks. At the time, I was at war with my colleagues. We were in the COVID ICUs and wards on a daily basis as the waves were hitting. And it came to a stage in my 3rd trimester, or entering into my 3rd trimester, where my friend Claire made a decision to put me on the bench. I literally thought I was being benched. And I was angry, I was frustrated, I wanted to be suiting up and helping the front line, because if you're in the healthcare profession, that's what you want to do. You want to be in the front line. But God knew. And He was able to speak through Claire to say, you need to take this time and enjoy this pregnancy that for so long you have longed for. And so during this time, I enjoyed every little moment that I had. I had the best COVID-friendly baby shower. The friends that organized family and friends on a roster to arrive at our home every hour throughout the day. and it was probably the best thing. I loved it. It really was such a special day. It was time to prepare, reflect, and feel blessed beyond measure. This was our little room that we had ready for him. He was to be a reminder of God's faithfulness, the proof of hope, and a light for others to be reminded of God's greatness. 2 weeks before our baby boy was due, so this was one of my last photos that I took. This was 2 weekends before our due date. We took our last trip to the farm to stay with my family. And even on the Saturday, my family members across the room could see him literally bouncing around and kicking from across the room. And he had originally been quite an active baby anyways. But that night I decided to come back with G instead of staying longer at the farm because I was feeling a bit uncomfortable and wondering if maybe it was early labor. The Sunday I rested and I slept, and our baby boy quietened down. And just as you let your guard down, another bomb goes off. On Monday, the 28th of September, I woke up and knew almost immediately that something was wrong. In the morning, as I woke, my baby boy would always kick me hello, and I knew he was there. This morning, he didn't. I even tried to push and prod, and I lifted my belly and I tried to move it, and there was no response. I immediately messaged our gynae, who said come in as soon as possible to check the heartbeat. 2 messages went out to friends, one being Claire Barnard. Friend, I'm going in for a CTG this morning. Please pray all's okay. More to calm my nerves, as I haven't felt much movement in the last 24 hours, and he's usually a very active baby. I'm scared. Claire wrote back, I'm praying for you, friend. G and I prayed in the kitchen before I dropped Ken's off and met him at the hospital. But as I drove towards the hospital, the tears began rolling as I heard the song, Be Still. Oh Lord, please no. You see, my heart had already understood what was happening, and it already began to grieve. That day felt like a scene in a war movie where everything is slowed down and you can see bullets coming past you, and you can see the shrapnel, and you can feel the anguish around you. I may not be able to go into too much detail tonight for fear that I won't be able to talk. But I do want to share with you a few points that really stick to me on that day. I remember my husband rubbing my hand and my head and holding me up, and his tender look into my eyes when we couldn't say anything. I remember a doctor that was absolutely surprised that we had no heartbeat and we had had a perfectly healthy child. He could not understand. The very first person I walked into on our exit of the reception of the hospital was my friend, Claire, who where 8 years prior to that, our roles had been reversed. She just had to look at us and know what was happening. Another friend sat in her car praying for us while we were in the doctor's room hearing our verdict. And yet another, having walked the journey of 2 losses herself, called in the troops. And they congregated outside our window in prayer from that morning. The amazing staff, and especially the doctors that attended to us, knew us. They knew our story, and they were gentle, and they were kind. When you go to war, you want to know who you go with. You want to know who you can rely on when you have no words to pray. You want to know they will run into the gunfire for you when your body has no fight left. That they will literally sit freezing, soaking wet in the trenches with their hands lifted high to a God when your heart is bleeding out. And tonight, many of my amazing warriors, or our amazing warriors, are here in person or across the live stream. All throughout the day, our friends and our family were on their knees with their hands and voices lifted high in the trenches and fighting the battle on our behalf. At one stage, even in the midst of COVID regulations, our warriors had gathered outside our ward. This was a picture from Magani, who came in and said, "You will not believe who's outside your ward." And you might ask how, not even 7 months later, I can share this with you. It's not what a human can do. It is only by the grace of God that we had peace on that day, the calm, the quiet, to give birth to our child who had died, who was becoming an angel boy. It is only by the grace of God that our J.C. Fran Steart, we were able to hold in peace and in love that night. When I think about the hospital, I don't think about the cold or the dark or the empty or the lonely. I remember the love. I remember the peace. I remember the peace that passes all understanding. One that we will never understand, but have only experienced. We were humbled beyond words on the support and love and kindness from our family and especially our community in the days, not just days, the weeks to follow. From meals to flowers, to messages, to visits, to gifts. I think the hardest thing for a family that has lost a baby is the little ones. I think our heart is broken over and over for our Kensley that so badly wanted a sibling and yet can't comprehend or understand or process the things that she's experiencing and feeling. I'm in awe that she has taken it in her stride. And I'm thankful to God for doing that for us. So in grieving and being in this process of grieving and trying to go through and almost preparing for tonight even, it feels like almost reliving this time last year. It's reliving what were we doing this time last year? What were we experiencing? But what I've realized in the battles that we've been through in the last, not only the last year, but in the last few years, is you can look for the pain, the loss, the unbearable, or you can look for the grace, the beauty, and the miracle. Our beautiful miracle was definitely too short with us. But I feel like his story is not finished. I came across this quote recently, and it says, "The reality is that you will grieve forever. You will not get over it. You will not get over the loss of a loved one. You will learn to live with it. You will heal, and you will rebuild yourself around the loss you have suffered. You will be whole again, but you will never be the same. Nor should you be, nor would you want to be." In terms of what this last year has taught me personally, is life is fragile and it's fleeting. Our days here are numbered, and until somebody close to you leaves before you even know it, it's for us to realize that we need to live today for today and tomorrow for tomorrow. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I think one of the biggest things that's helped us grieve losing Jesse, and also the reality of what's happened to Hades, is being vulnerable with people around us and sharing our story. Don't be afraid to go through it. I think one of my sayings recently as well is, I can't keep going around it. I can't keep trying to avoid it. I have to go through it. And when you feel it and you work through it, I hope to come out the other side with a mended heart, even though there will be memories that remind us of them. I want to encourage you to find contentment, so that when things are stripped from you, you're not hanging on to them so tightly that they strip you. Don't ask God why. I think one of the things that G and I have done from the beginning is not asked why. It would be so humanly natural to say why. Why our baby? Why the one that we had longed for? Why the miracle baby? Why the baby that came naturally? Why give him to us and then take him away? I choose not to go there. And the reason being is I'm not going to get those answers while I'm here on earth. But I will trust that our God works it out for the best of those who love Him. What I've realized as well in the grieving process is you do not have to feel you have to say anything to the person grieving. You just have to be there. Some of the most memorable moments was a friend putting her hand on my leg and not saying anything, just being with me. And as Hades reminds us, almost each time I see him from the beginning, it's to be thankful for the people around you, the people like your family and friends, because if everything else is gone but you have them, that's all that really counts. And so I choose to let God dream a new dream for me. I choose to embrace life and all it hands out. I choose to embrace the hard and the beautiful. These are some pictures of some things that we've been taken to doing as a family, with some friends as well at times, and it's been amazing. Experiencing God's creation, getting out into the still, into the beauty of what He's created with the people that you love. I also said I would never do fly fishing. If there's something I've learned, never say never. But I'm thankful that my husband loves fly fishing, and it takes us to the most beautiful places. You might ask, well, where to from here? I don't know. And I think if anything that COVID's also taught us is try not plan too far in advance. Going back to work, I remember feeling it was really, really difficult. I felt like I was almost going back to an environment where it almost made me forget, or people forgot, that I was meant to be on maternity leave, that I was meant to be raising a baby and seeing him grow. And for Claire and I, having realized how similarly our paths have been crossing over the last few years, we've been trying to listen to what God's trying to say to us. And so we are entering a new venture just in our work environment where we want to embrace and share stories like this to give hope to others and alongside the dietetics. And yeah, so with that we just want to end off in a little video. And on ending, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's walked this journey with us, to our friends, to our family, and above all to God that has given us the grace and the opportunity and the peace to get and carry on going. Thank you.
Wow. Now you're making me all emotional. Sure, it was amazing. Fran, normally in True Story Tuesdays we have a question and answer session right now, but I don't think there's any need for that. I think that's a mighty powerful message that you've left us all with. And I think for me, I just take out a few things, that if you haven't got focus in life, then you're going to lose out. And I think what I take out of this community, and most importantly of all, is a strong relationship with God. Because you can make a choice and you have a choice. And I think, Fran, what came out for me there is she had a choice when things started going pear-shaped, right back with her, when she was a teenager, with her anorexia. And then she made a choice and she decided, and she got a purpose for her life, and that's the way she went. And I think if she'd never had that experience, she never ever would have survived and got through what she's got through now. And it's easy to be a victim in this life, but you have a choice. And if you want to have that victim mentality, you're going to battle with life, but there's no need when there's special people around. And what's really nice about living in a small community like this is community. And so if any of you there are in a deep, dark, lonely place, you need to reach out. You know, there's another thing that Fran did. She reached out. They've surrounded herself. I mean, look at that video at the end there. It's amazing, the positivity that can come out of there. So just well done for putting together such an awesome talk and having the courage to come and do it. An evening like this would never be possible without all my staff. And believe me, they've also been through a torrid time this last year with COVID, from losing loved ones to battling financially to whatever has gone down with it. But just they've come through. Our team, it's a much, much leaner team now. We've had to retrench some people along the way just to keep this mothership going, but they've come through really amazingly. So I'd just like you to give a big hand to all my staff. Thanks, guys. And then to Sean and Richard from Sound Mechanics. These guys have also had a torrid time within this last year, and to come out and put together a production like this, it's for the first time in True Story Tuesday. It's given me real confidence, and to be airing out live to the rest of the world is amazing. You know, just not long ago you needed a big Pantechnicon or 2 or 3 outside with all kinds of equipment, and right now somebody could be watching us in Vietnam for all we know, you know. So it's quite incredible, and thanks guys for your planning and all that went into making this evening a success. And then please don't forget to put your name down for the next one. I promise you it's going to be cool. The buddies are quite nervous, I'll tell you, because they're not really public speakers, but anyway, we've worked on them. And then we are open for coffees, and the baker's table is there if you'd like something sweet to eat. And last but not least, I went into Woolworths and I didn't really know which blouse to choose. So I thought, well, I'll just get some for like the living room and the dining room. So thank you so much. So yeah, it's just left to say to all those that are watching us on the live stream, thank you so much for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it, live from Coffeeberry Cafe, South Africa. And to all of you, just relax. We're here. You no need to hurry home, and enjoy it. Thank you so much.